They were handcuffing me in my own driveway. 3 police cruisers lined up like I was some dangerous criminal, 40 neighbors holding up their phones, and all I could think was, this is what it's come to because my wife refused to bow down to an HOA president. My rights were being read to me while the woman behind all of it, Gloria Sanchez, smiled like she'd just claimed another trophy. But the moment my wife reached into her purse, that smug grin cracked into terror. And in that second, everything shifted. When Julie and I moved to Meadowbrook Township, I thought it was the start of peace. After 8 years in the Marines and a medical discharge that left me wrestling with the VA, I just wanted normal suburban life. A quiet street waving neighbors' kids on bikes, no one breathing down my neck. Most importantly, no HOA. We chose this neighborhood precisely because it was free of power-hungry busybodies telling us what color shutters to paint or how tall the grass should be. At least that's what I thought. On day 4, a silver Lexus rolled up like an official government inspection. Out stepped Gloria Sanchez, sharp business suit tablet in hand, eyes scanning my house like I was an insect under a microscope. Joseph Taylor. Right, I'm Gloria Sanchez, president of the HOA. That was the first red flag. There wasn't supposed to be an HOA. She smiled like a shark and said, "We've expanded. You're part of our Veteran Oversight Program now." Veteran Oversight Program. My gut tightened. She slid papers across my patio table, forms plastered with fake seals, references to VA codes, even my disability rating. How the hell did she know those details? The fonts were off the QR code, led to a .com, not .gov. Everything about it screamed forgery. When I called her out, she brushed it off with paperwork updates all the time. Then Julie stepped outside, calm but sharp, asking about federal authority and dropping Fair Housing Act clauses like she'd memorized them. Gloria's confidence faltered just for a second before she packed up and left with a tight smile that promised this wasn't over. She wasn't bluffing. By Monday, I was out of a job. HR said anonymous reports had raised concerns about PTSD episodes and workplace safety. They even played a call from some disguised voice throwing around clinical terms like combat stress and civilian integration challenges. My blood boiled. This was Gloria's playbook. She wanted me unstable, isolated, vulnerable. Walking out of that office with my desk in a box, I felt like everything I'd built since leaving the Marines was unraveling. And when I came home ready to confess my failure, Julie hit me with something that shattered me even deeper. She laid a badge on the table. County Fraud Investigator. My wife, the woman I thought I'd built a new life with, had been undercover the entire time. Our marriage was real, she swore, but our move, our timing, our entire story, it was also part of an investigation into Gloria. I can't describe the hollow punch that landed in my chest. Was I a husband or just bait? For a while I wanted to quit. Gloria had me pegged as a broken veteran, my employer believed her lies, and my wife's whole life with me suddenly felt like a cover story. I remember sitting on the porch, coffee in hand, thinking maybe I should just let it all go. Maybe I wasn't cut out for suburban life. Maybe the Marines had left me too marked. Maybe Gloria was right about me being vulnerable. I stared at my neighbors' houses, wondering who already saw me as a threat, who whispered behind curtains that the veteran down the street was unstable. That's the moment I almost gave up. But then I looked at Julie, still in her disguise as a bookkeeper, but now with files spread across the table showing me how Gloria had destroyed other families, veterans like me, even an old Marine down the block named Mr. Wilson. If I walked away, Gloria would move on to the next target and the next until more families were ruined. That's when the Marine in me clawed back to life. Quitting wasn't an option. Not when people who served were being hunted in their own neighborhoods. Gloria knew how to escalate. At the community pool, she ambushed me in front of everyone. "How's the job search, Joseph?" she said loud enough for half the crowd. Then dripping fake sympathy PTSD episodes can be so difficult for veterans. Neighbors exchanged uneasy glances, whispering, doubting me. And then Linda Carter, the neighbor who once brought us cookies, chimed in like part of a chorus, suggesting I needed help adjusting. It was too perfect, too rehearsed. Julie noticed Linda's phone buzz with a message, caught a glimpse of it, and her whole expression shifted. Linda wasn't just a friendly neighbor, she was on Gloria's payroll. $200 a head to help target veteran families. Every smile, every fake show of concern, it was all theater. Betrayal never tasted so bitter. But Gloria's boldest move came one Monday morning. She marched onto my lawn with Linda trailing behind, waving papers that looked like psychiatric evaluations. Loud enough for every neighbor, she declared she was conducting a wellness check because I was a danger to the community. Then she called 911, claiming I was in the middle of a PTSD episode. I stood there in my pajamas, coffee mug in hand, while she painted me as a violent time bomb. Within minutes, 3 cruisers screeched up. 6 officers positioned themselves, cautious hands near their holsters. My neighbors filmed like it was free entertainment. My stomach dropped as I realized how believable Gloria's act was. If those forged papers held up, I could be hauled off against my will, branded unstable forever. And then it happened. Julie stepped forward, her voice no longer the soft suburban wife. She flashed her badge high. "Officers, I'm with County Fraud Investigation. These documents are fabricated. You're looking at an active fraud case." You could feel the energy shift instantly. Phones pivoted from me to Gloria. Officers examined the papers again, spotting the fake seals, the bogus codes. Gloria's smirk drained off her face as the weight of her mistake hit her. She'd just tried to frame the husband of a fraud investigator in front of an audience recording everything. The predator had walked straight into a trap, but it didn't stop there. A few days later, Julie and I found Mr. Wilson, the 73-year-old Vietnam vet, crying on his porch with a foreclosure notice. Gloria had filed fake liens, turning bogus HOA fees into real debt that threatened to take his house. Seeing that broke something in me. I wasn't going to let her destroy him too. When Gloria's Lexus pulled up, she tried to intimidate him with her usual condescension. But this time, Julie countered with real county paperwork, reversing every fraudulent lien. Gloria's mask cracked. She gestured wildly, shouting about legitimate HOA business, and in the chaos, her phone slipped from her hand, hitting the pavement. Julie scooped it up, screen lit with texts detailing payments, target lists, accomplices. It was the jackpot evidence that would burn her entire operation down. That phone became the nail in her coffin. A coordinated sting. Operation Veteran Shield launched across 3 townships. At dawn, investigators and police stormed Gloria's house. Neighbors poured out with phones ready, reporters arrived with cameras rolling. Gloria opened the door in her bathrobe, still clinging to arrogance. But when she was read her rights fraud, elder abuse conspiracy, that arrogance collapsed into panic. Watching her perp walk in handcuffs, bathrobe flapping, while every neighbor filmed, was the moment I finally felt the balance of power flip. The same community she'd manipulated into fearing me now saw the truth. She was the predator, and I was the prey who fought back. And that's where it ends. Not with celebration, not with closure, just the sight of a woman who thought she could weaponize authority against veterans finally led away in handcuffs. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive quietly. Sometimes it arrives in flashing lights, rolling cameras, and the look on a predator's face when she realizes the hunt is over. The lesson: never underestimate the quiet strength of someone who's been pushed too far.